Hey folks, it is the Nutty Knife Guy. Been away for a while, just things happened. Sorry about that. And this might be a little rushed today. Today though, we're going to talk about something pretty cool, maybe, potentially pretty cool. Everybody knows Mora knives. Everybody loves Mora knives. They're great. So you're probably already thinking, well, why is he reviewing a Mora? Everybody already knows Mora, and people that don't like them really don't like them, but most people really like them because at first glance, this could be considered. You might think this is a Mora, but it's not. It's a Camillus, and it's a copy of the Mora Spark, which I bought for about 15 bucks at Tractor Supply. It's 420 steel, so right there it ain't a Mora. 8.5 inches overall. 3.75 inch blade. But, I mean, it is definitely a copy of the Mora pattern. In this case, the Mora Spark, because it has a fire steel. I added this little bit of paracord here because the first thing I noticed when I got this out of the box is that if you're under stress, just trying to get a fire going, and maybe you're a little bit tired, or your hands are wet or sweaty or whatever, this would be really hard to use. I just put this on there so it would be a little bit more of purchase. It has a really sharp 90-degree spine on it, and I have tried this before. It can throw a decent spark. Of course, it's not now. There you go. See if I can set my desk on fire. So this fire steel does work. It fits in the handle like so. Nice little click. It's not going anywhere. Pretty unremarkable sheath. Much like Mora's, little drainage hole at the bottom. I think the clip is questionable, but again, the sheath is not unremarkable. It's kind of unremarkable. Now the handle, I really like. The handle feels good, and matter of fact, I think it feels better than most of the Moras that I've handled. The question is, though, do I have my high-tech tang detector anywhere? I don't think I do. I think it's in use elsewhere. But I'm thinking it is not a full tang. I wish I had my high-tech tang detector somewhere. Let me make sure I don't. Okay, there it is. Just a second. I gotta get some junk off of it here. Okay, so got some pretty strong magnets here, and you don't get any you stop losing contact about halfway down, which is about where the fire steel starts. Sharpness, I haven't touched this. I have had this for about like a month now, but I haven't touched the blade. I haven't touched the edge. It is quite sharp out of the box, if you can tell, or I have been testing other knives with this particular paper. This is doubled over. That was more of a rip. So was that. But that was my fault, not the knives. And this paper is not the best to be using that for. Let's see. Let's get something. This is a little thinner. There. That's just, the paper just wasn't really good for that test. So, sharpness out of the box is good. I'm kind of rooting for this knife. But there is really not a lot about to say. It's just really basic, like a Mora. And if it works, I expect it to work very well. I expect it to work very well. Works very well. Well, anyway, So, I am debating whether to war post this or not. It's really not a war postable knife. It's not what that's for. But the war post is still a good durability test. So I might do that. So, wait in breathless anticipation while I change locations, because I'm definitely going to do the drop test and the throw it test and the prying test. So I'm going to do all of that, but I don't know about the war post. Probably, but I am coming to the conclusion that not every knife should go to the post because it's not fair to them. I mean, you can fight with any knife. You can certainly fight with this if you got to, but this is not a fighting knife, and that's what the war post is really about. How it handles, right? And then that's like the primary purpose of the war post. And the war post is about war, right? Fighting. And second, durability and edge retention and all of that. But you can test that other ways. So we'll see. Right? Right. Off we go to the wild blue yonder, or to the testing stool or chair, depending on which one I want to use. I think it's going to be the chair this time. And we will go there now. Okay, folks, I'm going to try something new and do this handheld just to save myself a little setup time. This is not going to be a habit, but I am kind of fighting the clock here lately. Okay, nice 4-foot drop, or roughly 4 feet. Can't really complain about that, considering that this is not a completely flat surface, but it's dropping straight and true. And now the stabby test. You can see a gouge I left in there. I think you can anyway. Some hard downward throws. It's getting good bite for a very light knife, and this is a very light knife, much like a Mora. One thing I wanted to see is if the fire steel came loose. I'll get it in there. And the fire steel that comes out of the handle stayed in there quite nicely, but comes out pretty easily when I want it to. So, can't complain about that. I'll give you a better look at the knife while I'm thinking about it. So, I mean, you could, at a distance, you could easily mistake this for a Mora. But I gotta say, I do think the grip is superior to most of the Moras that I've held. And of course, I haven't held all the different gazillion models of Mora. But that is not too shabby. And we'll go outside and do some other knife stuff with it in a little bit, if I get out there before dark. If not, I might be filming the rest of this tomorrow. We shall see. Breathless anticipation again. Okay, we are going to do the war post, but I'm going to change the order of things a little bit and do the feather sticking and whatnot first, since that's what this kind of a knife is. And we've been doing spring cleaning, so my stash of water bottles that I use for testing got thrown out. Okay, let's find a nice angle on this. This has a pretty steep angle, but you can You can feather stick with it. Let's see if I can try the other side here. There we go. I don't know why that works better, but it works better. Not the best in the world, but it can be done. But the grind angle is a little steep for feather sticking. But yeah, maybe just kind of getting the edge kind of worn in here because it's starting to work a little better. Okay, now we're going to kind of make half a vampire turn here. Now for this is working really well. This is kind of a pleasure almost. And it's going through some knots in here quite handily. So, it can do that job pretty well. We'll see how all the ends holds up. Whoops. Yeah, still in frame here. Okay. We'll do just a little bit on the war post with this. Trying to make sure. Okay. I'm not going to go crazy with it because it's not that kind of a knife. So, give it some good hard wax. There. Took a nice shaving off of my new war post. It's almost a shame to have to do that. Okay. The fire still came out. But I think it's because my hand was knocking up against it when I was doing that on the war post, and as I said, that's not what this knife is for. Alright, so I'm not seeing any edge damage. The tip is fine. Let me get a glove off here. And I'll feel the edge. Maybe we'll go down and cut some more paper. But I mean, I don't know if I can't remember if I showed you the edge or not. No nicks, no birds. The tip is perfect. I don't hear any rattling. And the edge seems to have held up just fine. Okay, we'll go downstairs and I'll wrap this up. Alrighty, folks. This thing actually did pretty well. Again, sorry about the water bottle thing, but really, that's just kind of good to YouTube. It does prove sharpness and whatnot, and the way the blade handles, but I didn't have the water bottle this time, sorry. Well, the detergent bottle with water in it, I should say. Just didn't have the spare. Now, interestingly enough, probably from hitting the war post with the handle, there is a little bit of plastic sticking out there. Nothing that would affect the knife, but it happened. I mean, this knife would still be effective. And it held up well. This seems to be a very nicely done 420. And of course, for a field knife like this, 420 is very corrosion resistant. Still easy to sharpen. So it's not a bad steel choice. The fire steel really shouldn't have fell out, but honestly, again, whoever designed this knife didn't think some yutz was going to bash up against a fence post. And I think what happened is that my hand, my grip shifted a little bit and loosened it up, and then when I was moving it around, it just popped out. Something to be aware of, if your fire steel is your only combustion source, and it comes out of the knife and you're without a combustion source, you're kind of screwed. There was a guy, I think, on the first or second season of Alone that had to quit early on because he lost a fire steel. Not out of a knife like this, but he lost his fire steel, and that was his only way of getting fire. But just something to be aware of. You got to pay attention to that. Maybe get a little bit of Gorilla Tape and just keep it over the fire steel if you're going to be going through brush or something like that. It shouldn't do that. It should lock in there maybe a little bit better, but it's not a big deal. Okay, after all that knocking around, let's see how the edge held up. Now, I think we did lose a little bit, but it's still pretty doggone sharp. So, final thoughts. Worth $15? Absolutely. And I don't think I paid that much for it. That's what it's listing online at Tractor Supply now. I'm thinking I paid more like $13 for it. Now, if I was in like an outfitter's, an outdoor shop, and I was buying a whole bunch of new kit to go out for an excursion for a couple of weeks or a month, and I had a choice between a Mora Spark and this thing, Mora Spark all day long. They're about the same price. I've seen, actually, sometimes the Mora Spark was a little bit cheaper. I don't actually own a Mora Spark, but this is what obviously this compares to, because it's the Spark has a little fire steel in it. But I can't complain. If somebody would tell me that you cannot take a Mora and you must take this, I would be annoyed, but I wouldn't be too worried. I think this would get you through a week or so, as long as you had the means of sharpening it, because, like as I said, the edge retention isn't bad, all things considered. But it's it's a consideration. But on the other hand, with 420 over some of the high carbon steels that Mora uses in some of its knives, the corrosion resistance might be worth the sharpening. The grind angle would take some getting used to for doing fine work on feather sticking. I mean, it's sharpened and carved with no problem, but the feather sticking, I think with a little bit more practice on this knife, I would get better at it. But this is a jack of all trade knives. It's going to do a lot of things. It might not do all of them particularly well. But if I have the extra money and I see these at Tractor Supply, and I think these are at Walmart too, I would pick up one or two more of these, because this is one of those kind of knives that goes in tackle boxes, it goes in day packs, it goes in get me home bags for the car. If a buddy who's not a knife person wants to borrow a knife for something and he needs a decent knife, and you figure he's either going to lose it or maybe forget to return it, you know how that works. They don't really mean to not return it. They just kind of throw it when they get home, and they throw it on their table, and they forget about it, and you forget about it, and you're out less than $20. And it's just one of those really kind of handy knives, like Mora's. But the thing of it is, I have never seen a store, except for one of my gun stores, that had Mora companions in, one of the gun stores I go to, for $13, and they were gone, and I had just finished shooting and buying a bunch of ammo at their range, so I didn't even have $13 to pick one of those up. I came back and I came back the next day, and they were sold out, and I've never seen them there again. So really, at least around where I live, you're mail ordering Moras. These you find in Tractor Supply. You find in I believe the Camillus you can find in Walmart. I know you can find some Camillus in Walmart. I don't know about this, but I got this one at Tractor Supply. If I'm at Tractor Supply again and I have an extra $13, I would probably pick up a couple more of these, and as I have, just have them in drawers, glove boxes, and things like that, because they're just a handy kind of general purpose knife. The fire steel, I mean, it stays in there well. I don't think that under normal use this would just come out like it did with me, because what I was doing is not normal use. But as I said, I think I'll show you this again. It throws a decent spark. Matter of fact, one's kind of stuck to the blade here. The spine of this thing has very sharp angles. And now it doesn't want to do it for me. There we go. And of course, this still has some paint and stuff on it, so if you kept using it, it would break in and work better. So, yeah, $15, definitely. I would go with Mora simply because I know Mora does better materials and Mora has a better reputation. There was a time when Camillus were considered good knives. They even made K-bar style marine fighting knives during World War II because the K-bar company couldn't make that design fast enough. Once Camillus was listed as a really had a really good reputation, then the brand got sold to some other company, and they don't have that great a reputation anymore. But this particular Camillus, yeah, as I said, I actually find the handle more comfortable than the Moras I have. And I have a companion, and I have a couple of robusts around here, and a craft line. I love this handle; is very comfortable. So the only thing I think I would do, just because I had that incident out there, again, with the fire steel falling out, that is not normal use. But knowing that it did do that, I would probably just get a piece of Gorilla Tape. Regular electrical tape might work, but in my experience that comes off when it gets moist. Gorilla Tape usually holds, so a little Gorilla Tape on here will hold that in. But yeah, as Donnie B all day says, it will knife. This knife will knife. And with that, I bid you to draw your knives only in just purpose. Sheathe them only with honor. And to remember that without knives, life would be dull and pointless. Please like, share, and subscribe, and help me feed the almighty YouTube algorithm. All hail the algorithm. And before I bid you goodbye, I will say again, I'm sorry. I got so busy and couldn't do a video. I'm going to try to do my Wednesday video on the pros and cons of the spine whack test for folders. So there's that. Again, I apologize for not being here. Barely made it this week. And now I will. I've already given you my usual admonishment. So I guess that means I will say goodbye.